Cool. Okay, so we have about 30, 45 minutes of conversation. We'll be speaking with Titi. So I would like to introduce Titi Macaulay. Titi, she has background in pure and applied mathematics that I know from my own understanding. Titi is a business operator with track record in driving profitability, leading growth initiatives, and implementing strategies that foster continuous improvements across tech sales, process optimization, customer retention, and revenue generation. Currently, she is the Chief Operating Officer for Growth and Expansion at Enyata, a leading product development company. Titi is at the forefront of global business growth and expansion, overseeing operations in multiple countries and driving business acquisition strategies and sales management. She's the host of the Sales Suite podcast, a platform created to empower ambitious professionals. She's also a co-founder of a community. She's also co-founded community for enthusiasts and professionals in business roles in tech, TSP community. That is the name of the community, a safe haven for entry levels looking to get into career path, mid-level looking for human and personal development resources to step up in their career, and senior level professional looking to give back. Um, I'm super excited to have Titi today. It's a real opportunity and I don't take it for granted. Thank you so much, Titi, for joining the conversation today. Thank you for coming on board. I sincerely appreciate it. I know last week you had was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I think last week you had your conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to start with that. How was it? How was it? How did it go?
It was beyond our expectation, right? We had just wanted a mini conference, just a couple professionals to get together, get them to learn, maybe like a couple hundred people, including speakers. And the registration day, came. Event day came. 2 days event day, and I'm hearing, oh my God, Titi, over 100 people have signed up. Oh,
Really?
Have signed up. Oh, wow. And I'm like, oh, baby, not everybody's gonna show up. It's Easter. And they were like, oh my gosh, will this space take them? Luckily, we took a space that was bigger than what we planned, so it just allowed us to be able to accommodate the excess. It was really interesting. People loved the quality of the speakers that were brought. Like few days after, people are still writing about it on LinkedIn. So I'm super excited. We should have a much larger event next year, and so this is like giving us confidence. Like, let's do a 2,000 capacity event. I think we can pull it off. Yeah. So yeah, it was really exciting. We had businesses that came to pitch. We had professionals who came to pitch, and they won money. So it was really nice. Overall, it was really nice, especially the part where a lot of professionals got to meet fellow professionals like themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of times in tech sales, weird but true. A lot of people we don't really network with other professionals like other roles do. Why it happened, like I honestly don't know. But then this is one of those avenues that we've created in the Nigerian tech space, tech sales, ecosystem, giving room for people to come together, meet other professionals. When you're stuck, you have people that you can speak to. Yeah, so yeah, it was really beautiful overall.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So just for people who are online, for better understanding of what you do, and so anybody that will be watching this video after now, so that they have idea of what you do at Enyata. What exactly is it about? What do you do as Chief Operating Officer, expansion and growth?
Okay, first off, I'm going to start by what we do. Start with what we do at Enyata.
Okay.
We are a development house, a software. We build custom software solutions for tech-enabled companies. And so if your company wants to, let's say you work at a bank and then you need to build a couple software, while we do know that you have your tech guys, there are times a lot of these companies get overwhelmed with internal projects and then they need extra hands, right? And so that's where we come in. Also, in some cases, for idea stage founders, who have these beautiful ideas, but then they don't have the hands to bring it to life. We help them do that, right? So think we built, for example, a sandbox for NIBS. So NIBS is the government agency that handles interbank transfers, the settlement agency that the financial institution literally sits on. So we built a sandbox for the NIP and POS product. We built for when Move was pretty new, we built their MVP for their vehicle management system with Uber. Look at them today, they're really huge. I was super excited to say that, we were that's one of that vehicle of, bringing that idea to life, right? We built for a couple of banks, we for like share go across Africa, 10 countries across Africa, all of their branches across Africa. And we built the SMS, their SMS hub. We built their, the middleware for their core banking. We built a bunch of things for them. And then we also do that with a number of companies, in the US as well. Globally, literally. We're recently launching for a company, a regulatory technology application, right? An enterprise tool. And so that's like what we do as a company. And now my job as a CEO is to ensure that all of the moving parts, they're well oiled. And so we're able to achieve our goal. Now, it doesn't stop there. So my work kind of like has an infusion of core CEO roles and an element of some CEO roles. Because I currently don't have a CEO, right? So that literally puts me at the forefront of things. And so my job is literally COO growth and expansion. And so every business goal that we have beyond the internal operations, every business goal that we have when it comes to revenue growth still falls under my radar, and also expansion to other continents, to other countries that we want to move to, and also managing operations across these other countries that we're currently in. So yeah, that's like a snapshot into what my life is. Just think COO plus maybe some element of CEO in one, right? But then at the budget of the CEO. So
yeah, interesting. Interesting. That's a good one, right? So I remember that you went into fashion at a point.
Oh yeah.
How did you move from fashion and move to tech, like tech sales, tech side of things? What do you? Is it your passion? Is it that your passion changed? What actually changed? Yeah.
Okay, I feel like to complete this, the best way to start would be uni. How did life go from there? Because the entire story is incomplete if I don't add that part. So Tosin and I were classmates uni days, and yeah, it was one of those geeks in class.
Yeah.
And then I studied math, like you said, pure and applied mathematics. And then we went to a government university, state university, and then we used to go and strike a lot. And me and boredom, we don't like go so well together. And so I started having to save my life. I had to start looking for new interests, new ventures, things that would, just things to spend time on. And I found fashion in that period. And I realized that, okay, I think I like business. Okay, I like business. And then due to the level of exposure that I had then, one of the first things that jumped at me was a fashion business. But then I known at that time that I didn't want to be a designer, really. I wanted to run a fashion company. So like two different things, right? For example, Beyonce has Ivy League Park. That's like a fashion brand. But Beyonce, so she's not a designer. She doesn't even design it. She most likely doesn't even design it, right? There are tons of streetwear designers that I've seen on shows, that I've mentioned that they are responsible for some of these designs, right? A number of organizations, a number of huge personalities like that have these companies successfully running, but then they're not designers. But then I don't have access to huge leverage, that would get me started on that part. So it just made sense to start as a designer, start as a tailor, learn the skills, move up to being a designer, right? To own your business. So came back to school, and then with a new interest that I really liked and a plan. Okay, following year, got into an internship with a top designer in Nigeria. Did my internship, my IT days, lied with my mom's company. But I went to this designer's company to do my internship. So I learned about the fashion world, the luxury fashion world, because then I'd learned the tailoring skills. Now I wanted to get into the fashion bit, right? So I got to understand the business itself, right? When a fashion shows, when all of that, and it was exciting. Right. So coming back, I told myself after uni, I'm kicking off my thing. So NYSC, I rented a whole flat, right? Rented a whole flat, kicked off my business, got my first machine. Then a few months after, hired my first help, the second person, and then we kept going from there. And then I realized that I needed more, right? I had a client at that time who was a banker and was really happy about me. He really liked my drive, a young lady, I wasn't in Lagos at that time. So I was literally in a city where I didn't have family, I didn't have anybody. And then he used to be so fascinated. It made me, he used to buy from me for his wife. And one day he told me there is a loan that you can take, right? It's provided by the government, but then you can take it. I can walk you through everything. I'll get a tin for you. I'll get, there were papers done here. It's 10 million naira, right? But then the repayment plan is super flexible.
Right.
And we laid everything out. And it felt like finally my answers, my prayers have been answered. And I realized that I felt like I don't have funds, and that's why I can't move my business to the way that I want. But then for the first time, the money is literally staring at me in the face. And I realized I don't have the skills to grow it into the kind of business that I've always imagined. Right. I don't have that knowledge. And I told myself, you know what? I'm going to get into 9 to 5. I don't want to be a fashion designer. I want to run a company, I don't know how to do it. And so
I'm with you.
And so, I need to get the skills, I need to get the knowledge. And then I started getting into 9 to 5, right? So I couldn't do it alone. I didn't have that. I had to drop in. And I started part-time first. But then one good thing about that was running my own business. It was really challenging. I didn't really come from, this very opportune background. And so I had to, grow. Yeah, my parents supported in the way that they could, but, I had to learn to build brick by brick. And what this had done for me when I got into 9 to 5 was I had transferable skills that became assets, because I feel like I'm one of the people who has had the fastest growth in their careers. Made C-suites in less than 5 years of career. That's like nobody really has that.
I'm still coming, but I'm still coming to that because it's very fast. It gets rising to CEO level.
Yeah. And so, but then running my own business, right? First off, again, I wasn't in Lagos at the time I started. Lagos, nobody cares where you're running your factory from. Nobody cares where you're running your business from. Just have a very nice online presence, and that's it. Have fantastic products, you're good. I was in Ilorin. I was 7 in Ilorin. Nobody knew me. They don't use social media. They just use it for their own fantasy. They don't buy from social media. They buy from people that they know. I had 0 ties, no families, no nothing. Nobody knows me. I don't know anybody. I don't know the culture. Who's going to buy from me? So I would go from bank to bank, right? I would get into the bank like towards close of business, get in, pretend like I want to do something in the bank around that 2-4, so that they will lock us in, right? I try to sneak in my stuff so that the security guys won't see that and tell me to put it in the locker. You know how it is in Nigerian banks.
Yeah.
Sneak in once like 30 minutes, past like 4, right? Everything is quieter, like the crowd has reduced, then I would start marketing. Then I had these packages that I made. I had this flyer that I made. I didn't want to be a designer. I wanted to run a company. So I had these packages that I made. I had like plans, basic plan, 1 shirt or 1 blouse, 1 skirt or pants, depending on what you want, 1 dress. That's like a basic package. Give it the price, give it another package, 2 blouses, 2 skirts or 2 pants, depending on what you want, 1 dress. I had minimum like deluxe. Then I had this like super package, So, and it used to fascinate them. A few people didn't like trust, nobody runs a business that way. Nobody runs a fashion business that way. It's a what style do you make? Let me make it for you. I wasn't interested in all of that. I didn't want to be a Kiki James. I She does amazingly well. I knew that wasn't what my interest was, right? I just wanted to run like
a company.
yes. And so each one of them were fascinated and they were like, okay, yeah, I want this plan. It was really new to them. And they were like, oh, you're from Lagos, right? And like, yeah, like it's you that do stuff like this. And then I got a few customers. One customer became, 0 became 1 to 2 to 3, and then I would pack and I would go. For every 1K that I needed to find a creative way to make it. And so going into 9 to 5, I went from having to be responsible for every part of a business to just focusing on my own fraction of the entire business.
It looks tiny at this point again.
It looks really tiny. Yeah. And it was a gift that I had that my regular colleagues didn't have. Because I was coming from a much so I'm like, that's all. I resumed this time and that's it. Right? I've gone from every moment, how do we make this? How do we hit this number? So naturally, I was a salesperson. So that was like one career that I could easily get into. Right. So I had ideas. I had to create my own marketing plan as well in my business. So I would have ideas to give. I started as like an online customer service, kind of like salesperson in the DM, responding, hi, how can I help you? What do you need? And started from there. And I realized that customers were asking for a number of things. And we didn't have a particular package that catered to them in that way. We had this select students coming and requesting for things. And I'm like, why don't we, rebrand some of our packages and tailor to the needs of these people? And my boss would be like, fantastic. It's a startup. When you bring ideas in a startup, you're not dropping the idea.
Jump at, yeah.
You will be the one to go and plan.
Yeah. You champion it.
Yeah. So other skills started building up. Product development, putting things together. And then I made a number of plans for them before I left the business. And then I went to another job. Going to another job, they noticed me like easily because I was used to that entire, energy. I got into a bigger company. Bigger company, things are a bit slower, right? Things are a bit slower. And at my very first meeting, then we had this like top priority, top C-suite person join us. And then we're supposed to like project what we're done. Just 2-3 weeks into resumption. I don't know what to do. I just projected what I'd done. And then I was confused. I didn't know. It was my first meeting and I was going first. And then the person looked at me and said, wow, you're very aggressive with your job. Are you serious? You've done this? When did you resume? And I'm like, technically 2 weeks ago. The first week was my onboarding. Like, what? And you've done this? I was still confused. I didn't really understand what was going on. And then my other colleagues projected and I could tell, okay. Next thing, give me your phone number. We don't communicate with phone number in our work, Slack, and that's it. But like, there is a project I needed to jump on, and that was it. And again, running my own business was a gift. It gifted me with ownership. It gifted me with the ability to think like a business owner.
Yeah.
And so I could look at my job from the perspective and see how my boss sees it. And that's something that a lot of employees struggle with. You tend to overestimate certain things and you tend to underestimate the things that actually matter to the organization. You come early at, how many minutes to time you're supposed to resume. It's good behavior, but that's like not what makes you a valuable employee. Like there's certain things that are just like super important. So yeah, that's how I got into tech sales and from business.
Yeah, super. Like honestly, you've answered most of my questions. To be honest, in your story, and that's a very interesting one. Yeah, I know you to be very energetic even while back in school. So we started this series in January, I think, in February, and we've hosted couple of first people. We've had Janet come in here. Janet has been here. Janet. Then Janet. We had another mathematician, but not from Lautech. I think she finished from UI, and she's also doing fantastic work right now. So all these things, right? The idea of this conversation we're having is to see the possibility with STEM background, anybody with STEM undergrad or whatever, how they can shape their future with even with the skills they've learned in class, right? Um, we understand that. So when we're doing numeric analysis, we're doing calculus, different things. We question we ask is that what's the application of this even in real life, right? But it seems like these in the conversation I've had with people, these courses has gifted people the ability to be inquisitive, the ability to kind of tweak things, think here and there, right? So I think, yeah. So we've had Janet, we've had, yeah. So we have a couple of people and they are mathematicians, and I really appreciate. So I want to ask this question. What has been your experience as a woman in tech leadership, and how have you navigated gender dynamics?
Okay, as a woman, honestly, in the tech industry, there's really nothing special.
Right.
Initially, in my individual contributor days, there's really nothing special about being a woman in tech. I work in a company currently of over 100 people. We have like a good
Uh,
amount. Okay, so individual contributor days, it wasn't like a big deal, right? But then moving into leadership, even initial, leadership, years, it wasn't really like a big deal. Now moving in, now it is a big deal because I am interfacing with different external, bodies, parties,
yeah.
walk into meetings with companies that don't have a single woman in their management seat, right? I speak to people and they're like, "Oh, I want to talk to your boss," and I'm like, "I'm the boss you want to speak to. Can I help you?" But I walk into a meeting with maybe my colleague that's a man, and then they look at him when want to say something really serious, and I always have like a very perfect way to make a very power move inside a call to help them understand and then set priorities right. Right. So it can be a bit. We've had so much progress with women and gender and stuff, but I feel like we haven't like scratched the word surface yet. So being a woman in leadership internally, it might not really be so much of a big deal, right? But then externally, I've come to see how much privilege that I had in the backgrounds where I have worked, in the places that I've worked, right? In the culture that I've worked. And then I'm interfacing with other people. I'm starting to see how different life is on the other side. But then I try my best to do a good job at educating them in subtle ways before leaving that call. When you leave a meeting with me, you don't doubt me after that meeting. You don't think about who is my it doesn't happen, right? When you leave that meeting with me, you don't doubt why I'm in my seat. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how it's been so far. Another part is, with this new level of enlightenment, now I'm looking at other things that we didn't even think were a big deal, right? Because it doesn't affect us in the way that it maybe affected other people. Policies, new rules that you could put in to further enable more women, right? Because personally, I didn't really have any struggle as a woman in tech coming up, but then I'm seeing things from the other side now, and I'm seeing that okay, okay, actually a lot going on, and I try in my own two bit ways to educate the audience, make life easier, enlighten people on what is still going on and how it can be fixed.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I think people underestimate the. Okay, so I've had issues with, or not issues anyway. I've had some kind of conversation with women, and I think in this series we'll be having, yeah, everybody we've had Janet, we've had Doka, so female, and they are doing fantastic work in their career. And I think that some people limit. I think limitation is in the. I want to believe that limitation is in the mind, right? If you come with your A game, if you come with excellence, nobody wants to. Of course, a business that wants things to be done want excellence at every point in time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. Nobody looks at your gender sometimes, right? Yeah. What else to ask? In your experience, how should aspiring professional balance technical skill and soft skill, especially for role in growth and sales? And I also want to ask that. So we have many people who will be watching this maybe after now or live now. We want to
Mm,
understand coming into tech, right? Because
mm,
we have there coding part and non-coding aspect of tech, right? And
mhm.
you function in the non-coding part of tech. And people don't know, some don't know that, oh, there are other things that there are other aspects, or in a tech company, there are other things that are going on there aside the software developers, the data engineer that you have there, the product designer, product manager. There are other roles that are along that line. So, what are the skills that you think people should, that soft skills or whatever that are needed, right? And what roles do you think people should also try to check opportunities around in a tech space?
Thank you. So before I go on to answer that question, I wanted to answer to what you said before you asked this question. So while yes, like I said, I didn't really have so much roadblocks. Again, seeing other organizations, I feel like much progress hasn't been made with organizations. So, like I mentioned earlier, I've worked into rooms where there is not a single lady on the management board,
Mm,
management team, and I don't want to believe that there was not a woman that was good enough to be
mm,
promoted in any of the departments and represent them as C-level.
yeah,
Like, I don't want to believe that, right? So while some organizations, some industries have evolved and moved fast, and they move past whatever bias, there's still a good number of traditional organizations that haven't, right?
yeah.
And again, some of us haven't experienced it, or some of
Mhm.
us were lucky enough to not experience it, but then it's a call for us to not be blind to the privilege that other people might not actually enjoy.
Right.
Right. So that's something that I would love to point out. Because I had a podcast session last month in March. If you check Journey to podcast, and we spoke extensively about this. Right. So while some of us are not really like facing that struggle, there's a ton of women that in the culture that they've had to be in, they still like face some of these things. Now to go on to soft skills, first of all, in tech, I tell people tech is an industry.
Yes.
Tech is not a it's not a role.
It's
It's like oil and gas, right? So when people tell me, "Oh, I want to do tech," so I tell them, "Do you want to do oil and gas?" Because if you want to get into oil and gas, you know exactly what it is that you want to go do in oil and gas. If it's business that you want to face, sales or marketing, or the technical side of things that you want to face, or it's the whatever kind of thing that you want to do. So it's the
yeah,
same way for tech. You have the technical side as well. Every industry has a technical side. Insurance has a technical side, that's writing. So same for tech. And the technical side to tech is when you now have like engineering, back end guys, front end guys, the coding guys, right? AI engineers, all of this, And then there's like some mid technical, which is like Salesforce admin, some of these CRM specialists, some of these other roles. And then you also have like product roles as well that don't really require coding, but then they
yeah,
work closely with engineers. You have product managers, you have product owners, product specialists, you have product designers, you have QA engineers, you have all that. So that's like another arm. Then you have the business side. In the business side, then you have like marketing roles. Inside marketing, you have product marketing, you have that marketing, this marketing, sales. You now have like sales, you have revenue operations, you have like a bunch of things. So first things first, educate yourself in the parts that are in that industry. Again, tech is an industry, it's not a job, right? So that in that industry, educate yourself. These days, there's Google. Like, if you don't know things in this era, I feel like it's a crime
but
because
ChatGPT your friend. Just ask. Yeah,
like it's a crime. There's like Google, there's GPT, even if it's not yet 100% accurate, right?
yeah,
There's like so many information out right now. So there are like so many industries that you could Google and research on, and then look at the ones that jump at you, because different roles require different things. Being a quality assurance person, right? You have to be detail oriented. I'm not detail oriented. That's not in my own way of being detail oriented. I can't do QA job. I can't do coding because I can't sit still and concentrate for like 6 hours. I can't do it. I like to jump around. I like to pick things on a macro level, right? So if it's a business side that calls to you, in the business side, what part of the business side calls to you? The skills that a marketing person needs to excel is not the same as what a salesperson needs to excel. Even sales is not the same as BD. So you look at some of these roles, because whatever role that you're picking determines what kind of technical and soft skills that you need. I'm going to use sales because that's my background. In tech sales, there's a technical side, which is you knowing your product, understanding what you're selling, knowing the target audience, like knowing all of those things. There's that. Now there is the soft skills, because people tend to think sales is 80% I can talk. I'm very eloquent. I can speak English. I can dazzle people, right? And that's not it, right? It's mostly emotional intelligence. And that's why you have a lot of salespeople, but then companies are constantly suffering from hiring very good salespeople. There's a lot of salespeople that can talk, right? The emotional intelligence is not there. The ability to step back and then look at what you're doing and see what to iterate in your process is not there. The ability to read the room is not there. The ability to like have things is not there, right? And so you're constantly making these cold calls, constantly doing like cold emails, constantly, but then you just don't ever get a deal to close, right? So whatever role that you're picking will determine what kind of soft skills you're going to need and what kind of ask skills you're going to need. But then one very important soft skill I think everybody should have, or like maybe a couple, ability to work with people, super important. People get people because they're likable, right? People get jobs because people feel like they find it easy to work with them.
Yeah.
The most brilliant guys, trust me, are the ones always in the C-level.
Yeah.
Trust me, right? You have to know how to sell. I don't care if you are a software engineer here. You have to understand how to sell, because selling is not just I'm a salesperson, I'm representing a company and I want to sell something to you. If every founder here that is listening to me, you're in the business of sales. You're selling your vision to employees that you cannot afford to pay, but you want them to work with you. You're selling your vision to people that you want to come and be your co-founder. You're selling your vision to investors that you want to bring on board. You're selling your vision to like a bunch of people, to an employee that wants a promotion. You're selling your vision. You're selling your work to your superior and let them know why you deserve the role that you are vying for. So everybody is selling something from the moment you wake up to the moment that you sleep. Even to your partner, you're selling. I have a bright future. You better come and end up with me. You better believe in me. You're selling to every single person. When you want to get a job, you're selling to the landlord. And the best tenants they can have, don't worry. So that's like one important skill I'm going to like tell everyone to have. And emotional intelligence, super important. Like super, super important. Yeah. So important soft skills I think people should have. But again, when it comes to being specific, the role that you need to get into determines what you're going to need. Means what is going to be an asset and what is not.
Thank you so much, Titi. So I think for those who are just joining, let me briefly, for 1 minute, introduce Titi again. Titi, she has a background in mathematics and move on to fashion. Along the fashion line, she picked up interest in business side of things, and she moved into tech sales, right? And other 5 years, she has climbed the ladder to enter the C-suite, yeah, to being the COO of one of the biggest tech companies that you can have we have around in Nigeria currently, Enyata. Enyata, they built the NIPS, that is the Nigeria National Interbank Settlement.
Then comes to just the sandbox for the NIP and POS product. So we built a couple of software projects for banks, tech-enabled companies, and things. Yeah.
Yep. Right. Someone is asking, I have a message there. Is Titi on LinkedIn? Yes, she is. Yeah. So I mean, after the conversation, just search for. I'm not sure we have two Titi Macaulay in Nigeria. I'm not sure.
We actually
Just,
have a group of them.
just search Titi Macaulay. She'll be the one to come up, right? Titi Macaulay. She works with Enyata, CEO Enyata. Just look for her. She's there. Don't worry. Yeah. Thank you so much, Titi. So I think I have one or two questions more to ask. Do you have any mentor that helped you in your journey?
Yes, so at every stage of my life,
Right.
right, I've always had someone, some unofficial mentors, some official mentors. So I believe in shortcuts, right? So that I don't believe in cheating your future. Okay, so let's make this thing very clear. I don't believe, cutting corners and not going through, process. But I also believe that experience is the best teacher. But then that experience doesn't have to be my experience.
Mm.
People have made their own mistakes, right? And I can take the lessons from their mistakes and see where it applies. This is not to say that you should, measure your life by other people's standard, or you should limit yourself using other people's limits. Okay. I believe in when it comes to when you get advice and when you get, when you acknowledge, you look at it, you see, right? You pick what you believe applies to your vision and then run with it. If people have made mistakes, why am I adamant and hell bent on making that same mistake to learn? Right? So I'm a huge believer of learning from people so fast. So I like to ask questions. I like to, in some cases, I still go with my gut, right? But in a lot of cases, I like to ask questions. When I get somewhere, I can be pompous about my work. When it comes to asking questions about how you did something, I'm one of the most humble person. I'm very shameless when it comes to advice, asking questions. Oh, do you abuse me? Something. That's your problem. Would you show on my forehead that you insulted me yesterday? Right? So as I ask for advice shamelessly, I've always had mentors unofficially, officially at each point of my life. And when I get to a stage where I feel like I've outgrown this, I move on to a new stage. I look for a new mentor that fits, that stage. From my mentors that I realize that we actually do know, you know, mutually. So say, Mr.
Yeah.
Olushola Osimo, yeah, he is someone I feel like everyone should check out here. A fantastic, fantastic man.
Yeah.
Is let me look for his LinkedIn.
And the funniest thing was that is the husband to my former boss, Kumbi Oshinoike.
Okay,
Right.
interesting.
So
Life is so life.
that's it. And she has been, I mean, the family has been very, very kind to me, to be honest. And while I was moving out of the country, or when I moved out of the country, or the family were very, 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 very. They put me through, okay, do this is how to get into a new country, do it this way. And that's so, right, I can't underestimate the power of mentorship, right?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Olushola Oshinoike.
Yeah, Olushola Oshinoike, yes.
So I just dropped his LinkedIn in the chat, so
Okay.
you can check him out. One of like political people that he's been an official, like a coach slash mentor, sort of. So I've had people at each point. In some cases, I've had sponsors, and I feel like everyone should have sponsors. Now, you don't look for a sponsor; they look for you. Again, work ethic, right?
Mm.
Your work ethic, your ability to take ownership. Okay, the ability to, so they get attracted to your light, and then they come to you. Having sponsors, having advisors, super important, right? Surround yourself with people that you trust their judgment. Some people that you're the wisest in the room, you're the smartest person. So on the days you're off, they can't even give you advice, good quality advice, right? So surround yourself with advisors, surround yourself with mentors, with teachers. It's super amazing. It just saves you stress in some areas. Some lessons you still need to learn on your own, right? Absolutely solid, but try to reduce that as much as possible.
Right.
Oops, Nigeria doing its thing.
Oh, like okay, so no, don't worry, we can manage the audio to the end of the thing. Oh, I think she has dropped off.
Now I'm here.
Okay, so we can manage the audio if yeah. So we'll be closing the conversation very soon because we need to finish this before 8 o'clock. I just want to ask this question, but I think someone answered was raised up the other time. So if you have any question, you can just raise your hands up. I think Tosin, Daniels. If you still have any question, you can. Yes. All right. So you can.
Yeah.
Count.
So thank you, Tosin, and thank you, Titi. I just recently joined. I hope you guys can hear me clearly.
Yes, clearly.
Okay. So basically, yeah, I joined by mistake. I'm connected to you, Tosin, on LinkedIn, and I just saw that you're going live, and I'm like, okay, if it's tech related, let me just hop in. And it's pretty late right now because I'm currently in Dubai. Okay, so
Right.
however, I'm a technical recruiter, right?
Right.
So I recruit top talent from top universities in the world to top fintech industries. And just going through everything that you guys have that I've heard is basically about how startups and founders intend to get more knowledge on how to start up their own company. So I pretty have an idea of what you guys are talking about.
Right.
Now, what I want to ask in terms of, let's say I want to be a start, I have ideas, right? I have ideas I want to build a startup for. How do I go about it? What I'd like the first step to take in terms of constructing my ideas, in terms of product development. What are the steps I need to take? So that's basically what I have to. That's my question, basically.
Right.
And then,
Thank.
on the other side, right, maybe frequent if you do this more often, I would like to share my knowledge in terms of the skill I have or the job I do currently in recruiting software engineers for different roles. I can share more light on what employers are actually looking for or what companies are actually looking for to recruit, right? So that would be my question.
Thank you so much, Tosin. That's fantastic. I will connect with you. I will discuss after now. See how to
Yep,
have a conversation after now.
we are
So
currently connected.
yeah. Okay. So Titi is here, but before Titi.
Yeah, I'm here. I
Okay.
wanted to answer before we go on ahead, but you go ahead.
No. Just take it. Don't worry. Take it.
Okay, great. So when I hear questions like this, my first question would be, have you already fleshed out the idea that you want to build on and launch, or are you still working that out? So I know where to start.
Okay, so the idea is in conceptualization stage, whereby I just sketch everything out, and I know I've done my market research on how the product is going to be valuable to customers, but it's still in the idea stage. There's nothing that has exited from the idea stage.
Okay, great. Idea stage, you're very lucky. So one of the things I'm going to start with is the people. People always think they have to find the perfect product to release, right? And that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
Product is quite important, okay? But then there's no point spending. I work in a development house, we build software for companies, and trust me, building tech projects, building tech products requires a lot. It's expensive, it's a whole lot. And one thing I always say is start with the people, right? What market do you even want to serve? Why do you want to serve this market? Okay. Because these things would help you to understand what kind of product you should even build. How should you build this kind of product? Okay. Um, how should you even price this kind of product?
Yeah.
A lot of fantastic products that unfortunately maybe were too early to the market. People didn't really understand it. And then maybe if they had waited how many more years, right, they would have worked out. Okay. They have people who have like nice products, but their audience cannot 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 buy it, right? It's too expensive. There was always one thing or the other. People, who do you want to serve? Why do you want to serve them? Okay. What is the perfect product for them? All right. What do you know about them? What's the best way to sell to them? Okay, so when you have all of this question answered, then you can begin. The way you would sell a vision in the US is not the way you sell it in Nigeria. It's not the way you sell it in the UK, right? All of these people are very different. All right, and that's why when you have a go-to-market plan for one country, even if you're prominent in that country, when you're moving to a new country, you have to behave like you are a new. Yeah, so these things would then determine what kind of product you should even get into. What is even the prospect of that business. And some businesses that are fantastic, but then they can't be skilled, right? So these questions helps you to understand what the market demand is like. Does your product even need investors? Because it's not every product that this one for. A lot of people don't understand that for some weird reason, right? It's not every business. For example, there are certain things we don't do in my company, and people wonder why we don't do that. But then when I then get into conversations with them and I break it down, they're like, oh wow, okay. But I'm not just going to go and burn money that you raise from investors just because I want to act like I'm also a company of. So yeah, these are the things that you should start with, and then you begin to flesh your product. When you finally find your product that you want to build, and you're very sure that there's market and demand for it, you now find out the best way to present it to them. Because while raising funds is important, at the end of the day, there's only one very important fund type, which is customers' money.
Yep.
That is what even determines who backs you, how they back you, right? If they will back you. Okay, you see what Shark Tank, and you see some businesses that the sharks are jumping to want to invest with. Some other businesses will come. It's like, man, right? So people have to be ready to buy from you. When you find out all of that out, and then you now flesh out your product, start with an MVP, right? Don't try to start your first version of your product. Either it's a product or a service or a solution. Don't want to make it like a skyscraper. Start with something small. Start something small because when you start a business, you start with assumptions. It's okay. Even the best of founders all start with assumptions. You're going to have a lot of assumptions that in that moment you think is true. It is when you then go to market, you do a hypothesis, you now be tested, and you know if it's true or if it's false. Yeah. So that's small. So that way, by the time if you need to pivot, you still have resources to pivot. You've not spent all of your time, energy, money, everything into that one initial build, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. So start small and get feedback as you go, and then gradually, iterate and improve the product, expand the product based on what you've heard firsthand.
Yep.
The customer. If you speak with a lot of founders today, a lot of them will tell you that what they thought their business would be when they started, it's not what it is today. And some of them have pivoted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
Right. Very few found product market fit immediately they launched. A number of them had to pivot, right, to find the sweet spot. So imagine if you've spent all of your resources in that first build, right, or in that first offering. So, start with the market, end with the market, okay, and then pivot with the clients. There is a podcast that I did with Napa. She's a very solid person when it comes to business. And Napa Onwusa. And Onwusa, if you check my YouTube for my podcast, you're going to find it. And she really talks about these things a lot, right? So yeah, and also join founders communities, make friends, speak to people, listen to the market, study, observe, then you iterate your product as you go gradually. Okay. Yep. So that's what I can say on a very generic note. Maybe if there are more specific information, then I can go in deeper.
Yeah. So I also want to say, how do you think Enyata will be able to help? At what?
Oh.
So he's coming in. He has an idea. Trying to be this first MVP, which maybe that's what he wants to use to pitch to investor, maybe for example, right? Before even pivoting or even working on that. So what do you think he should, how Enyata can be a partner in this?
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. If you're going to work at the development house, I would advise that you validated the idea first.
Okay.
Because when we build heavy tech. with enterprise level tech. And so if you're going to be validating from what we do for you, it's a bit risky.
Explain. Okay.
Yeah, it's risky because now you spend so much on an idea that you've not validated. I am most likely a first time founder, right?
Right.
Except for like experienced founders who are not starting out something, then fine. But currently, I'll tell you again, go back, start small. When you've validated, then let's talk. I'm always happy to help you produce the most sophisticated version of your product. But my advice as a business person is validate first, right? When you're sure, then let's work together.
Right. Great.
Mhm.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much, TC, for your explanation and going into details. But one important question I have that I didn't bring up is this. So I, as a person, have knowledge of what I want my product to be like, right? And I also currently work. So I can't do both at the same time. I can be a startup founder and continue working. I can't put in 100% into both things. So how do I start up something on the side with my resources, financial resources, not looking to get investors or people like that, or people to invest in my product, while I'm still working and earning good money. Do you understand?
Okay. So that's a complicated question, which I would not want to answer on this call because I know Tosin is running against time. But
Yeah.
then I can't say much right now. I have a lot to say, but I don't want to get into it. But then check out MailChimp. MailChimp, worked in bootstraps. It's really successful business. Bootstraps for how many years? They're like super valuable right now. And his business was literally a side hustle for so many years until they became profitable. But that doesn't always work out for everybody, right? That's why I said this is not a question for this kind of call. So you can connect with me. We can pick this up from here, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tosin, I think we take this conversation going forward. We'll maybe get you connected to Titi and we can get it. And I think let me just chip in this, that if you can find a co-founder that maybe complements your skill, right? Not necessarily a salesperson. If you're good with sales, just someone who can help and is available, right? I think that might help. So that might give you opportunity with your time and the likes, right? And I think that's most of the reason why people go for co-founder and the likes, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but Tosan, we take it on. So I think last question I have a question here. Thank you, Titi, for sharing your journey with us. It's such a motivation for upcoming techies like me. Well, I will like to ask if Enyata has a consideration for tech stars who are just starting areas of IT or entry-level roles in data analysis.
Also, we don't train, right? At this time, given the nature of our work, and we used to train but then it's at random. But then we don't really like depend heavily on trained employees. Given because if you come to give a dev shop your product to build, you're trusting that you have the sophisticated talent to work on that. But we do have a non-profit community, Enyata community, you can check them out, right? We do a number of freelance projects. It's like a way that we give back to society.
Right.
They do a number of non-profit projects, and that you can use to test your skills, use to build your portfolio, do all that. So you can check it out later. Enyata community, they have a Slack channel. Let me see if I can find the link. Or I'll send it to Tosin and Tosin can share it with you.
Right, I will do that. And also, do you take entry-level roles?
No, that's what I just said. We don't.
You don't train. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you must be super, like, very good to make sense.
Yeah, mid-level and above, because if your company is coming to you, they're coming to you because they know that, like, they want you to be better they want you to do a better job than their internal team.
Yeah. Right.
And entry levels, it takes a while for you to be able to have the access to, be able to even like take on client projects. So that means we have to like dedicate time to train, and so we do that through the community, right?
Yeah, I think we have to. Yeah, we are against time, so we have to close this. Thank you so much, Titi. Very, very. I'm so I appreciate you so much. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything because of busy out of your busy schedule for the weekend. You booked this 1 hour or 2 hours. I've even taken 2 hours of your time. Anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate, and I believe if I come back to you for further discussion at any point, you grant me, right?
Yeah, for all time's sake, happy to help. Happy to. Thank you so much for having me. Had like a really fun time. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye everyone.
Bye, Titi. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining today. So we continue with the conversation on social media. We'll post this. This video will be live. So the link will be out, and you can watch it again and again and again. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.